Alrighty. Well, today was a good day, wasn't it? Thank you so much for coming in, as always, you guys. Today was a fantastic day. So we got a lot to cover today. We also have a lot of news stories as well. Bitcoin miners flash action. We're going to look at what's going on there. Bitcoin and miners were pumping today quite nicely. Miners were doing like 3-4x of what Bitcoin did today. That's more in line with what I expect for them to do. So, but we get this in kind of like spurts a little bit with them. Otherwise, they're pulling back. We also have, we'll talk about how Cleanspark can get to 64 exahash this year without buying any additional sites. We'll look at the possibility there as well. And then we have SoftBank, Cantor, Tether, Bitfinex. Add all those up, you get about 3 billion in BTC buy potential there. We're going to talk about that. That was just put out by, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name. But we'll get into it. We'll cover it all. And then we had an interview with Zach from Cleanspark today, the CEO there. This was on X. I'll provide you guys the details on how you can listen to it if you want to. It was about 25 minutes or so. It was a great interview. I'm going to go into it just a little bit, not too deep into it. I want you guys to listen to the interview actually on Spaces, on X Spaces. Okay, then we'll get into Q&A. Should be a good, fun day here. So as always, not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Doesn't cost you anything, but it does help out the channel. All right, let's take a look at Bitcoin here. Today, Bitcoin, oh my gosh, what a fabulous day it had. It was up nice today. Love that green candle here. A little concerning though, that we pumped quite fast here. I would have liked to be a little bit slower. We talked about this yesterday a little bit as far as could Bitcoin get to 92,000 this week? And well, sure enough, we got there and then some. So we got a lot faster than I was expecting. I was thinking maybe by the end of the week we would be there, but man, we did it in one day. So that was great news here. Only thing I'm concerned about here is what we saw back here. Pretty nice candle over here. This was back on March 2nd here. And then after that, we had a big drop down. I'm hoping we don't get the same thing happening here. The good thing is we are now above the 50-day, the 200-day simple moving average, the 100 simple day moving average as well. And like I said, 92,000 was kind of my mark here where I thought I would maybe have a little bit of resistance. But we saw just, not really that much. We saw it kind of around here, 91.8. We saw some resistance, but we blew past that. And then I was thinking maybe 95,000 would be the next resistance part where we might see it. But right now we're doing okay on the 15-minute chart. The 1-hour chart is also looking a little bit exhausted here on the RSI a little bit. So we might have a little bit of a pullback happening overnight. We'll see some profit taking happening. 4-hour chart, yeah, definitely looks a little bit overheated here right now based on what we saw today. That may come down a little bit more. Price may come down a little bit more or go at least sideways for a while that cools off. And the daily, definitely want to see that daily come down a little bit here. Because right now we still need that reversal happening on the RSI where it's at 67. Last time we were close to that, but price was much higher. So we need to cool off a little bit here, maybe trade sideways a little bit, and then continue to go up. And then we would have the reversal where the RSI is the same, price is actually higher, right? But we're still looking pretty good on the weekly here. We're bouncing back up here. Last time we were right around here, we're still at a higher price, but they can still go up for a little bit longer there. So that was good, right? Bitcoin would dig pretty good today. If we look at the Dixie is down some more right now, and the dollar basically is down. The US 30-year yield came down a little bit on the bonds. 10-year yield also came down, but it's up a little bit here now. And then we had gold. I mean, gold was up to $3,500 a day. New all-time highs for it. It's at a new all-time high right now as it is, but it did come down a little bit on it. Crude went up a little bit more today as well. So things are kind of interesting in that space altogether. Going back here on the miners had a fantastic day. Ethereum also had a really good day. Ethereum was up quite nicely. Bitcoin was up 8%, I believe it was, at the finish. Actually, let me see. Yeah, BTC USD. We were up, that's the weekly. I want the daily. Daily, we're up 6.82%. Really good day on it. And the miners did actually pretty good, about 2 to 3x on it when they closed. Bitcoin, when the miners closed, was around 4x or 4% up. The miners were up like 3-4x on top of it. So Bitfarms was up nicely, 12.88%, finished out at 94 cents here. It looks like it's getting close to getting back above $1. BitDeer had a really, really good day. It was up 23.42%. That was the best performing miner here today. It was up nicely. Cypher was up also nicely, 17% on the day. Cleanspark was up 17.4%. I think it was the third best performer after BitDeer and Wolf here. Wolf was up a little higher, 17.78%. CORZ, for some reason, is up only 8.29%. Same thing with Hive, only up 8.1%. Hut 8, a little bit better there, 10.8%. IREN, 9.98, almost 10% on the day. Mara was up 14.4, really good day for them. Riot was also up 13.2%, so everything was looking nice. MicroStrategy was up only 7.95. A lot of miners outperformed MicroStrategy today. And that's kind of what I would expect to happen here, especially when Bitcoin goes even further higher in price and things like that. I would expect miners to outperform MicroStrategy here going forward as long as nothing else happens. But we'll see. Galaxy was up 18%. Everything else was up nicely. Small miners were up just a little bit. Biggest gainer was Annie, Sphere 3D there, up 10%, 10.7. Everybody else was single-digit gains for those. The ETFs did pretty good today as well, up a couple being up double digits, and then single digits for BitQ and DAP there. So that was looking good. And Bitcoin dominance continues to increase here. We can see it on this chart here, BTC dominance. That continues to go up. It's at 64.27% on here. And then if we look at the heat map here really quick as well, you can see Bitcoin at 63.32 on this one. So we're somewhere around that range. So dominance continues to increase here, which is good. All right, let's get back into this and get into our stories here. But currently, Bitcoin for the month of April is up 13%. Not a bad month at all. I'll take it, right? We could go up even a little bit higher. We still have approximately, 9 days left of trading or so with Bitcoin. We could go higher. We could get maybe even like 15, 20% on that month, which would be really nice considering what we've had in the past, 34%, 34, 33, 32. We've had two kind of lackluster months, 7% here. This was back in 2016. And 2023, we had 2.81% on it. Okay. Let's take a look at the ETF inflows here. Really quick, get this updated as well. And yeah, I mean, we had a lot of ETF inflows here, 719, not counting whatever was going on with BlackRock there and IBIT on that one. But that's a nice day here. We've had a couple nice days, except for the 18th, which was Friday. Nothing was trading there. But we've had at least nice 3 days of green in ETFs buying Bitcoin. Okay. Next here, we're going to take a look really quick. The interview with Zach. So this was instigated by K or at K2 Macro. If you guys don't follow him, definitely give him a follow. Great guy there. But we sat down with Zach for about 20 minutes. We talked about their trading desk, their current $200 million credit line with Coinbase. The interesting part about the trading desk was how they're going to use it. That's one of the questions I had for them. You know, how is it going to be beneficial to shareholders? And it's a great explanation by Zach there, so definitely give it a listen. We also talked about their growth plans going forward, right? Do they plan on buying more sites, things like that? So listen to the interview there. You'll get it. It's 25 minutes long. It's not that bad. And then I asked Zach also, does he believe that we're going to be in an extended cycle instead of the previous boom and bust cycles that we've had with Bitcoin every 4 years? And he also believes that we're going to be in an extended cycle possibly. So I'm hearing a lot more people talking about it where we might have an extended cycle, which is going to be good potentially for the miners here, especially the ones that are growing here and doing really well. So give that a listen. That's at K_2_macro. If you want to follow him, definitely do that. There it is right there. And then you guys can definitely listen to that as well. And I think I posted under or reposted under my timeline as well, so you can find it there also. All right. But that was fun. Thank you to Zach for taking the time to join us for a little bit. It was nice. I like it when CEOs join us just even for a little bit, like 25 minutes, half an hour. If they give us an hour, that's fantastic. But thank you as always. And thank you to Kay for inviting me as well. We had the BTC mining guy there also. He asked some questions that were pertaining to their growth strategy and things like that. So give it a listen. All right, next, this is really interesting here. So Matthew Siegel, definitely give him a follow if you guys don't follow him on X as well. A lot of great information that he provides for us. But he put this out today. So SoftBank to join Tether, Bitfinex, and Cantor to launch 21 Capital, seeded with $3 billion in Bitcoin and set to go public via SPAC FT. SoftBank will contribute $900 million to buy BTC at 85,000. Well, I think maybe they were buying here recently. Maybe that's part of it. With Tether in for $1.5 billion and Bitfinex in for $600 million. Masayoshi Son's biggest Bitcoin bet yet. In 2017, SoftBank's son personally bought $200 million of Bitcoin near the top, then sold months later, reportedly losing over $130 million. Ouch. All right, so got a little burnt there, but learn from it. Earlier this year, SoftBank invested $50 million in Cypher Mining, acquiring approximately 10.4 million shares, 3% to support HPC data center development, and entering into a month-exclusive negotiation for data center space, which was never completed. This time it looks like the bet from one of the big tech's most infamous risk takers can't be unwound so easily. So This is kind of interesting here. The vehicle called Cantor Equity Partners raised $200 million in January and will use the cash to create a new firm called 21 Capital. It will receive $3 billion in Bitcoin from the other cryptocurrency investors and trading firms, according to the people. So is this going to become something like MicroStrategy there? I don't know exactly what they're going to be doing with so many Bitcoin. Tether would contribute 1.5 billion Bitcoin, while SoftBank and Bitfinex would contribute 900 and 600 million, respectively, of the digital currency. The people added Tether and Bitfinex are owned by the same parent company and share some of the same leadership there. Okay, Lutnick's vehicle, if you guys know, Lutnick is on with President Trump there, right? He's crypto czar, not crypto czar. That's David Sachs, but he's in there. Vehicle will also raise 350 million convertible bond and a separate 20 million private placement of equity to buy additional Bitcoin. Eventually, SoftBank, Tether, and Bitfinex will see their investment of Bitcoin converted into shares in 21 Capital at $10 per share, and valuing the digital currency at 85,000 per coin, I guess. Okay, so that's definitely interesting how that's developing there. So next here, we'll talk about that if you guys have any questions on it. Den Held, also, if you guys don't follow him, definitely give him a follow. Global M2 versus Bitcoin. I like this chart. What do you think happens next? Well, here's a chart on it. You can see the white is the M2 supply. The orange chart is Bitcoin, right? Based on if historically if Bitcoin repeats and follows the M2 supply, we should be in for a nice run up here, possibly up to 180,000, based on this at least. But that's coming down possibly in May, something like that, whenever that's going to happen, and it's so far tracking pretty good. We'll have to keep an eye on it, see if it continues going. I would love to see this continue going. I'm sure you guys would too, but this is, man, would love to see this happen this year still. All right, and then we got from Dylan Leclerc. He's posted that new MetaPlanet website and analytics page is live now. If you guys know, MetaPlanet is a Japanese company that's been buying up Bitcoin like crazy, following MicroStrategy's playbook, right? They just keep getting more Bitcoin through ATMs and through convertible notes, and they keep doing the same thing. So this was kind of interesting. I pulled up their website here to take a look at it, and yeah, they're completely going into it full head in, just like MicroStrategy is. That's actually a pretty good website here. Right now, let's see, return since BTC adoption, 1,932%. Bitcoin NAV is 451 million there. BTC rating 14.79x. You got the share price, BTC holdings. As you can see, they can continue to keep buying regardless of the price. They are buying like crazy. They're at, what are they at now? 4,155 Bitcoin on their HODL, 111% yield year to date on it. Year to date. I mean, this is actually really good. Yeah, 451 million Bitcoin acquisitions. Yeah, they've been buying a lot. Bitcoin purchases, you can see when they bought them all. Man. Yeah, I mean, they were buying it even at 107,000. Wow, 108,000, 109,000, 106. They were buying at, I don't think this was this price? BTC acquisitions, how much they bought. BTC average cost, there it is, cost 97,000, they bought it at that. 97, okay, so they didn't buy it at 100 some thousand, but they were buying it at 97, 91,000. Still pretty good. So they've been doing really good. MNAV 2.95, shares outstanding 488 million. Wow, this is a lot of great stuff, a lot of great data here. Love seeing it. So this is interesting. We got MicroStrategy, we got MetaPlanet, we got Mara doing it. They're all buying up Bitcoin. Now you got Cantor, Bitfinex, Tether joining forces and everything else. It's interesting times to be alive, and especially if you're invested in Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners, this should be really good for us going through the rest of the year, but we'll see. All right, next, let's get into Cleanspark here, getting possibly to 64 plus exahash by the end of the year, how they can possibly achieve that, and what would they need to do to get there. All right, so I looked at Bitmain's latest miners that they have available as far as what you could buy here. I believe a lot of the miners that they might be able to replace, we'll talk about which ones here in a second. They could replace them with the Bitcoin Miner S21 Pro, 234 terahash, air-cooled, right? So I think a lot of those are going to be air-cooled potentially for them. Now, they could wait, hold off a little bit. Maybe Bitmain comes out with something else, something a little bit faster, that's air-cooled. Then the reason I say air-cooled, because I believe most of those sites that have the machines there that could be replaced are air-cooled mostly. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's the case. If they're immersion cooled, well, they could definitely do better as far as terahash is concerned. They could get the 300 terahash machines here that would go into the regular tanks, or if they went with the 473 terahertz, they would have to buy basically as set up by Bitmain, which has their own kind of, what is it called? A container that you put these into, and it's all equipped, but that's a little bit higher cost there. So I'm going with this. We're 234. They could buy something better, but this just gives us an idea as far as where they could get to. So if we look at Cleanspark here, as of today, right now, they are planning to get about 56 exahash this year. Right, they're supposed to reach 50 exahash in the first half of the year, and then another 6 exahash following that, without any acquisitions or anything like that. We don't know when that's going to happen or if they do anything. And that is based on a lot of these machines here that they have, which they have a lot. They have about 276,000 machines, roughly. A lot of them are the 234 terahash machines that they've been buying here in 2024. They also have bought some of these 300 terahash, which are the S21 Pro XP Hydros, right? So they are doing some hydro or immersion cooling technologies there as well. They have these 200 terahash machines. They got a bunch of those also, which they were buying in October 2023, probably getting delivered in 2024. So those are only about a year old, right? A lot of the stuff here is probably less than a year to less than a year old here. Now, when we get into some of the stuff over here, now we're looking at 2023, where a lot of the stuff was getting delivered at that point. And maybe early 2024 as well, possibly. But a lot of the stuff is going to be older. It's going to be about now some of the stuff is going to be even 3 years old here on top. So we have 144 or 140 terahash machines. We got some 122 terahash machines, and again, 140 terahash machines here as well. These are the ones that I would think, especially the ones up here, are getting close to their end of life potentially, right? Usually you think about 3 years for machines that are air-cooled. So those definitely would be on the chopping block here, getting swapped out along with some of these potentially going forward here. So I put in another spreadsheet here for it just so I don't mess up my regular spreadsheet, but this is Cleanspark 64 Plus here. And as you can see here, based on if they change some of the stuff out over there, they could get to about 64 exahash. Discard this because this is just pulling in the data from the updated machines, but their target could be 64 without having to buy any new sites or anything else like that. They may have to increase their megawatts there, do some upgrades of the facilities potentially to increase that based on the wattage that's required for the newer machines, right? Instead of being right around 3,000 watts, you're looking at about 3,500 watts, roughly. So once we put all these machines here at 234 exahash, that gets us to potentially getting to 64. Total watts would be 238 million for the old stuff, and the new stuff would be about 350 million watts combined. So like I said, they would need to probably add about 100 megawatts or something like that to those facilities to be able to do this. Can they do it? I think so. It just depends on what kind of electrical contracts they would have. If not, then they could still increase it by, I think I did the calculations on this, it was right around another 5 exahash or something like that, potentially, without having to do any megawatt upgrades, potentially. So yeah, they can definitely do that, and it would be, I think, of benefit to them to do that. Also, if they can grow even more this year beyond the 64 potential that's available to them now, if they can get closer to like 75 exahash by the end of the year, that would be sweet. Because they do, as I keep saying, they need to continue to grow, especially as the Bitcoin network hash rate continues to grow, right? You need to get newer miners, and then some of these older machines here, well, not older, some of these newer machines, you wouldn't replace those until probably into late 2026 into 2027, considering that they're still relatively profitable here. If we look at it for, let's see here, February, March, so March is the latest data, right? If they installed some of these newer machines at 234, they'd be about making $11 a day on it, not counting electricity included in that. And some of the newer stuff here would be about $14, the immersion ones at least. Those would be at $14. That's a nice improvement over what they had here currently, right? Where these are only making about, the old machines are making about $6, $5, $6 here as well. So you can see how that can definitely have a nice impact on it, on the revenues here, right? Almost doubles the revenues from where they are right now, just by swapping out those machines. So that would be great. I mean, at that point, they'd be making approximately 71 million here. If, well, they wouldn't be fully installed, but they would be at 50 exahash based on this. And they have some more to get installed here anyways. But based on what they have currently installed, right, upgraded, they would be at 71 million here in revenue so far for March. compared to what they are getting currently here with what's installed, which is about 60 million, based on what they have. So 10 million more. 10 million more a month is nice. That's definitely getting to scale, helping things out. You definitely are able to cover all your expenses and everything else at that point, and possibly use the funds to pay for operations and growth as well without having to dilute as much. And Zach did say that they are not diluting any time soon here. They stopped diluting back in November, and they have plenty of cash to go forward for what they need. And part of the strategy is going to be to sell a portion of Bitcoin as well to fund operations so they don't have to dilute, which is great, which is why the stock, I think, did very, very well today, as you guys obviously saw in the beginning when we talked about it. So I'm happy being a hodler still. I'm still in the green on Cleanspark here. I've been in the green the whole time, even with the dip that we've had here recently. It's just the other miners that have gotten beaten down more, and I got in probably at higher prices, especially with IREN. My average on IREN is $8, and Bitfarms is around $1 something now, $1.30 something. So still red on Bitfarms, IREN, and I think now I might be actually getting the green on Mara as well, because I bought Mara about, what, 3-4 weeks ago or something like that. I think it's somewhere around there. Don't remember exactly. But yeah, this is all I got for you guys. So definitely Cleanspark has the potential to get to 64 exahash plus. We'll see where they get to, what they do. But this would be nice to see them do in the long run. But maybe by the end of the year. If not, sometimes early next year, I guess. But man, I'd love to see them get to 75. But that's, maybe I'm just dreaming here. All right, that is it. Let's get into Q&A. As always, the spreadsheets are going to be available to my Patreon members. I will provide this to you guys for reference as well. Not much else has changed here. The only thing I've done is updated the stock prices as of today on these guys. And then we can possibly take a quick gander into the enterprise value, enterprise metrics here as of today. And this is the way they stack up here still. Hive looks still way undervalued, right? About 9 million for future hash rate growth right now compared to 15 million for current hash rate growth. Bitfarms 21 million for future, IREN 26, Riot 33, Cleanspark 37, HUT 39, Marathon 55 million per exahash. Per enterprise value there, Core 103 million, still pretty high, and BitDeer is still really high, but BitDeer's got a lot of growth happening here in the second half of the year, so we'll see. Maybe things will even out eventually with some of these guys here compared to BitDeer, but BitDeer is definitely getting a premium right now on it. All right, that's it. Let's get into Q&A, see what you guys have to say. Any questions or anything else like that. We'll cover it all in the Q&A. As always, if you could preface the question with a question mark, would appreciate it. And I'm going to scroll up a little bit, see if we got any questions. We'll work our way down as always. So be patient. I will get to all your guys' questions if there are any. Let's see here. Amik says, another 120% gain and I will break even in Riot. Okay, you definitely bought it at a much higher price. What else here? Mortem has a question. Why is IREN the largest holding in WGMI but is lagging the most? Depending when they bought into it in the ETF and the gains that it's had, or depending when they bought into it. Yeah, I don't know why it's underperforming. Some are saying that they are pulling on the ATM, which might be the case. Some are saying that they're not. I don't know exactly on that one if they are doing, but if they're lagging behind, that might be a little bit of a cue. But they're not lagging too far behind. So maybe they're just pulling on it a little bit here. Okay. Minor says, whoever runs WGBI puts investors at risk going all in on overhyped AI. Yeah, I kind of agree there. They should have, the miners, the HPC AI miners did really, really well last year. This year, they got beaten down like crazy. It was not a good return this year, at least right now. We'll see how they play out later on. But yeah, Joe C, when short squeeze on Cleanspark. Yeah, I mean, being up 17% today was definitely a good squeeze on the shorts there, I think, depending when they got into it. But we need to see more days like this in order to really hurt the shorts, I think. So we'll see how tomorrow is. Right now, Bitcoin's down a little bit here. We'll see where the miners end up tomorrow. Sadie, thank you so much as always for the thumbs up and the likes. Let's see here. Question, if Bitcoin goes 2x, will the miners go 3x on top of it? Do you still believe in your initial thesis? I still believe in that. But it's always in a window of time, right? They did that, when did they do that? Back in early 2024 they did that, and late 2023 where they also ran up a lot more than Bitcoin did. And then later on in 2024, the ones that had HPCI potential, those guys did pretty good. compared to Bitcoin as well. And then like the pure play miners were kind of laggards actually. But they were also playing on the ATM. That was part of it. Dilution, right? That didn't help. But there was just a lot of hype of HPCI, and that helped some stocks. But yeah, I would expect them to do at least, Bitcoin does 2x. I would expect those guys to do at least 3x, right? If not more. But I'm just being a little bit conservative, sandbagging a little bit. All right, let's see. Bitfarms back to $1. I'm almost back to profit. Nice. Yeah, I mean, it should get, as long as Bitcoin continues to go up, it should be there maybe later on this week or sometime next week, I would think. All right, question from SK here. BitDeer is a dark horse. It always goes up much higher than compared to other miners. Any reason for that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's just how many shares do they have outstanding? Let's take a look at BitDeer here really quick. Where's it at? There it is. BitDeer has approximately, let's take a look at it. Doesn't have that many. Yeah, it's got 165 million shares outstanding right now, so it's actually pretty low compared to some of the other guys here. Maybe that's part of it. They're also, they're not Chinese-based. I think they're Singapore-based, I think. But they have a lot of stuff happening for them, right? A lot of growth happening in hash rate later on this year. HPCI potential as well. They are starting to hodl Bitcoin as well. We can see that happening here. That started back in November. They've been adding to their hodl. I don't know. Not exactly sure why. But yeah, it's definitely doing pretty good. Somebody's definitely buying up that one. It's been beaten down quite a bit too. If we look at the chart on it, let me see here. Where's my stock performance chart? Institutions hash rate, stock performance. Here it is. You can see here on a different time frames. BitDeer, here it is, down 58, almost 59% here, down from the beginning of this year. So it's been beaten down quite a bit, and maybe that's why it's catching a little bit of uptick here. We can see that Cleanspark's only down 7.2%, Bitcoin's down 12.6%. So actually, Cleanspark's kind of outperforming Bitcoin here a little bit. Marathon's getting close to that as well, and then we got everybody else down here. So a lot of these guys have been beaten down, like I've said before. Okay, let's go back here. Let's see what else we got. Reluctant Luddite Treasury Secretary. Yes, the gentleman there. Oh gosh, Lutnick. Yes, Treasury Secretary. Thank you for reminding me on that. Gus says Bitfarms used to be at $5. I would agree based on their operations, their growth here. I would think so as well. Pitt has a question here, Seb question. How is the mining difficulty looks like moving forward? I guess a lot of miners are shifting towards AI data centers. Any thoughts? Thanks for your great work. Yeah, difficulty is definitely going to increase as the network hash rate increases, right? We're going to see that happening nonetheless. So we've had some spots where it's been coming down a little bit, but overall I expect it to increase here. Now, the increase we're going to see this year is much smaller than we saw like last year. Last year we had a huge growth in the miners, right? We went from 500 roughly, I think it was exahash, to basically almost 800 exahash. It was a 300 exahash increase. That's a lot getting installed. This year we've seen so far, we're at 800. What are we at right now? Let me see if we can pull up that chart. The network hash rate growth here as it is right now. Let me refresh this and go here. So a lot of things to do here. Okay, this is on the 7-day average. So that's actually come down here. If we look at the 30-day, yeah, it's actually coming down here a little bit. So people were definitely panicking, it seems like, for whatever reason or not. Let's take a look at the 1 day here. And it's come down to 847, and we've been to a high of over 1 zettahash here. But on the 30-day average, which is what I like to track, we've gone up to 872. So far, we're, 4 months in, and we've added 72 exahash, roughly, maybe a little bit more than that, because we started the year out at March, February, let's see, January 1st, right there. We started out at 780, and we are up to 868. So almost 100 exahash have been added, almost. And that was, yeah, in the last 4 months, roughly. So could we get another 300 or another 200 exahash being added this year? Maybe, maybe not. I think it might be a little bit less than that. I think we might see another, depending where Bitcoin price goes. If Bitcoin price continues to go up higher, then maybe we do see another 200 exahash being added on this year. So a total of 300 potentially, which was kind of the same what we saw last year, but percentage-wise gains, right? Going from 500 to 800 is much bigger percentage gains than from going from 800 to 1100, right? So Percentage-wise, it's going to be smaller, but I do expect it to continue to go up here. That's why I say the miners have to continue to increase their hash rate. If they're not, they're going to be slowly dying. So they need to continue to look forward to either swapping out machines that are older, getting more megawatts under their belt is another alternative there. But they have ways to do it, but they got to grow. Okay. Answered that question. Let's continue back here. All right. BJ says, I'd be ecstatic to if Bitfarms gets to $5. So would I. Pitch says, hitting like button, friends. Let's all go together. Appreciate that. Let's see. I'm not talking about any poop coins there. All right, Sebastian, this is Cleanspark that you just looked at. This is going back. Yes, I believe we were looking at Cleanspark on my charts and everything else that I have on the data that I have on them. Fairfax says we've all been waiting for this. Yes, we need at least another like 5 to 10 days like this in order for the miners to do pretty good here. But this was a nice start to it. Okay, Gary says, with Cleanspark's high 5-cent energy cost and the fact they lost money mining in Q4 and will lose money in Q1, is it worth buying miners as long as U.S. tariffs are in place? Well, the tariffs are not on electricity, thank God. But they are definitely on certain, possibly certain miners, ASICs. I don't even know if that's the case, though, right? They had exemptions in there for semiconductors, which miner ASICs are semiconductors just on a, circuit board. And they just mine Bitcoin, so they might be exempt from it. I'm not sure. I should have asked Zach that if they are exempt during the spaces today. I forgot to ask him that, but that's something I can ask him via Twitter or something like that, or ask any of the CEOs there. Maybe I'll do that tonight or tomorrow. Ask them if they have any insight on that. But Cleanspark has stated, at least in the past, that they are looking to be EPS positive without the FSB impact on them in Q1. That's for us. I think it's their Q2 at that point. So we'll see. All right. Don says Gary Gensler is now bullish on BTC. Yeah, well, he's no longer at the SEC there. All right. Question: why hold Bitfarms when there's many other better miners? I'll tell you why. New young investors love buying penny stocks for whatever reason. It's not that. It's just they're turning the ship around. So I love the growth strategy or the growth story from them last year, right? Saying they're going to get to 21 exahash by the end of the year. And then I sold off 2/3 of my shares there as things have changed. But I still like the fact that they are, one, transitioning into being more in the United States, possibility having of HPCI deals. We don't know if that's going to materialize or not, but there is a possibility of that. I like that, and I still like their operations. They're still one of the top, I would say, top 3, top 5 best when it comes to operating. Their Bitcoin mining farms. Kaz says Gensler was always bullish. He just kept it to himself. Yeah, I think it was mainly because of the administration there. He was towing the line there for them. Question: has IREN goofed up by pausing at 52? Well, they're not the only ones, right? Riot also did that at 40. I think they're doing it at 46, 48, whatever it is. With them, is that a bad thing? In my thoughts, at least, yeah, I would say continue to build out until you actually do get something, instead of pausing and then wishing that you get something with a for HPCI deal, right? There's no guarantees on it, so I think they should have continued to progress with it, and then whatever megawatts are still available at that point, you get a deal. Maybe that would have been maybe that would have been I can't speak. Just popped in my head here. Maybe it would have been a better way to go forward and say to these HPCI guys, whether it's hyperscalers or small clients or whatever else, it's like, hey, if you guys want it, great, it's available, but we're going to continue to go on with the Bitcoin path, and whatever megawatts are left for you guys, that's what you get, right? So if you want to lock in those megawatts, get in early, because otherwise it's going to be less and less. Maybe that would have put a little fire underneath any of these hyperscalers if they wanted to deal there. Maybe that would have been the way to go. Gone in there with like Trump, say, forget you guys. I'm not saying forget you guys, but you know what I mean, as far as being a little tougher on them to make them make a move there, maybe. I don't know. Okay, talked about that. All right, Benjamin has a question here. If a small Bitcoin miner goes below 50 cents, who would you consider buying, keeping it all in the bear market until the next bull run? As far as if a small Bitcoin miner goes, who would I buy at 50 cents? Probably right now, none of the smaller guys. There's just not a lot of growth. Some of them are transitioning to becoming like an energy provider or working on small micro reactors plays there as well. Yeah, I don't know. Right now, none of the smaller guys I wouldn't buy into it because I don't know if we do get into a bear market again with Bitcoin like we have in the past, which I think there's a small chance that might happen. I think there's a larger chance we might be in an extended cycle, but those guys are going to get hurt. Right now we're seeing Sphere being in trouble, possibly Griffin as well being in trouble a little bit there. Who else? Maybe some of the other guys possibly. So I would not. I look at growth. I want growth in the miners, and those are the ones that I invest in. All right. Let's see. Heinze has a question here. This is the scariest dead tiger bounce. How we feel. You guys thinking this could be a dead cat bounce? Maybe. I'll give it a small percentage chance. I think there's just too much happening here, too much adoption, too much everything else for it to be a dead cat bounce, and but we'll see. All right. Do you expect Bitcoin to go back to 86 this week by experience? By experience, the run-up that we've had here just today kind of scares me a little bit. It was too fast, too high, too quick. We might see a pullback. I don't know if we're going to go back down to 86, maybe back down to 88. If it does happen, that would be a good time to buy in as well. Or it could continue going up. That's kind of the way I would look at it. All right. See, Kaz says if you bought Bitfarms 2 weeks ago, you're already up 50%. I know, I'm kicking myself in the butt. I haven't been able to buy into this dip here because I had to pay Uncle Sam a boatload of money, and then I got to pay property taxes as well here coming up. So, yeah, I wish I would have been buying. It would have been nice. All right. Sadie says, some of my hosting facility friends are having issues with tariffs from some suppliers for what it's worth. Okay. So they are getting hit by it potentially. All right. Yeah. Definitely would like to hear, get that cleared up. Are you having issues? Are you not having issues? Depending where they're coming from as well, I guess. So control boards were brought up. Yeah. So control boards, those are those little probably mini computers, I'm guessing, that are on top of them. They control the actual ASIC boards. Usually you have about 3 ASIC boards in each one with a bunch of chips on them. Those get controlled by the control boards there. So maybe that's an issue there potentially. I don't know. But that would be like a computer then at that point, right? Computers, depending how they define computers, is it computer for public or private, individual use, or is it for something like this? That's interesting. Gary says also, I read miner A6 weren't tariff exempted, but check. Yeah, I don't know exactly, right? There's some things that are saying that semiconductors are exempt, personal computers are exempt, but where do the ASIC miners actually fall under? That's the question there. All right, question, what happened? Why is going up? Tariffs still there? I am sitting on some cash. What's happening here, at least things that I've heard, as far as what's happening with Bitcoin going up, Bitcoin is starting to be seen more as a safe haven, more or less. If this is the case, if it holds, we'll see, because currently it has decoupled from the regular markets, right? We're seeing Bitcoin going up while the markets were going down. So that investors' sentiment towards the United States has been also down a little bit. So they're getting out of stocks and things like that, and they're getting into gold, possibly Bitcoin as well on top of it. So that's kind of what's happening here on this. And now we're actually seeing the miners do pretty good today, right? Yesterday Bitcoin was up, but the miners were actually down towards the end of the day. So that was interesting as well. All right. Bid says, question, I have 50,000 on the side, thinking of buying Hood as a proxy on BTC. What do you think? I think Hood, Cleanspark, or Coinbase, MicroStrategy, those are all good proxies there on it. The miners themselves are, I think, good proxies going forward as long as Bitcoin goes up. So, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. IREN only has the energy to get to 57 exahash until Sweetwater is powered in April 26. Is that all they have? I have to look into it. I think, you might be right. Don't they have, isn't the current site they have, what is that, Corsicana? Or is that Riot? I can't remember. Their names are pretty close. But I thought they had 1 gigawatt there, roughly. Or maybe it's 800 megawatts. But either or, right? You can continue to plan ahead and still see where you get with the hyperscalers. All right. Why up so much in the last few days, and which miners to buy and Bitcoin ETF to buy? And I've been sick in the few weeks, and who has the most cash? Well, I hope you feel better. I'm sorry to hear that you were sick in the last few weeks, but I hope you're doing much better here. Why is it up so much right now? Like I just talked previously here and a couple of seconds ago about Bitcoin being seen as a safe haven, a good bet against the US dollar potentially. So that's the main reason why things are going up. And Bitcoin ETFs, I don't deal with the ETFs for Bitcoin, but I would imagine look for the ones that have the lowest fees potentially there. Good supply as well. Somebody that's not going to be closing up shop on the ETF anytime soon. I would look for that. And who has the most cash? Yeah, I don't know as far as the ETF who has the most cash. As far as miners are concerned, you got Mara, Cleanspark, Riot with a boatload of cash there. So those are the ones with the most cash. All right. Let's see, Gary says they chose to use 5 exahash for the AI project. Yes, that was part of it. They could expand in Sweetwater Bitcoin mining 2026 if no HPC deal. Yes, that is also correct. So they do have the possibility there of doing it. But there's going to be definitely a pause between, when they get to 52 exahash later on this year, and which they're targeting 50 exahash by the end of the first half, and then 2 exahash probably will get that in the third quarter, I'm guessing, somewhere around there. So then you're going to have a pause of a number of months, possibly a year, of not adding any more Bitcoin machines at that point, and that where hash rate could definitely go up much higher. They could still do very well with the machines they have as long as Bitcoin goes up much higher, right? If Bitcoin goes flat or something like that, at that point, they're going to be actually generating less and less income as the network hash rate goes up. So that's one of my concerns there. But I still own a bunch of shares in IREN, basically for their growth, but also for the potential for HPCI. If they do get it, it's a huge bonus. Stock's going to rocket. Seb, do you think we'll get a paradigm shift where precious metals and BTC are going to be part of fiscal and monetary relationship between people and nations? I don't know if it's going to be between people and nations. I think it's going to be more so on the nation side of things. I mean, we're definitely seeing China buying a heck of a lot more Bitcoin here, or not Bitcoin, gold, in the last couple months, right? We're seeing other countries doing the same thing where they're going into precious metals like gold, getting that on their reserves, because maybe they're not happy with the U.S. dollar also. A lot of them might be also selling the U.S. dollar. So, yeah. But I think those will probably do good here going forward. I mean, we've seen big gold get up to, $3,500 as it is. See, Kaz says, I think the pump is by design, considering how many retail sold between 70 and 80, whilst Wall Street wants to pump it up quick so retail will FOMO back in at the higher position. That could be also true, right? They want to scare people out of it and then have people pump back into it, but much higher prices. And that's typically the way it works. You get the weak hands out and you get the strong hands in. They pump it up and people start getting back into it. Paper hands get punished as always. Yeah. All right. Question, why is it positive to have an AI data center close to a major city? It's about the latency. When it comes to AI, right, the closer you are to metropolitan areas that have a lot of people, businesses and things like that, that's always beneficial. And it's about the latency, about the time it takes, the data to get from one site to the next site through fiber networks and all that. So I think that's why. You just want as low of latency as possible with those things. All right. You think we'll keep running this week? I think we're going to have a pause tomorrow, potentially. I mean, we're down 0.77% as it is right now. We might have a pause tomorrow, have a pullback, have a little healthy pullback, take some profits, and then possibly continue to run. But we'll see. Heinze says, if we get more positive catalysts of trade partners with the U.S., especially with India, we may see futures rally. Yeah, we may see that. Sinan Satoshi, thanks for the update, Seb. You're very welcome. Thanks so much for coming in here. Kenny has a question here. Can you show us the chart of BTC and global M2 again? Yeah, definitely. I can definitely show that to you guys. Let me pull it back up here. Where's it at? Dan held. Here it is. Here's a chart on that. Where's my screen share? There it is. So here's a chart, right? The white is the M2 supply, and the orange chart is BTC right now. And you can see how well that follows the M2 supply, even on the ups and downs as it's going down. It is probably offset by about 100 some odd days on this, on the M2 supply. So if this is the case, Bitcoin should rally here in like May. It's already starting to rally a little bit here in April as it is. But then continuing on for a number of months, continuing to get much higher, right? So if we look at it here was a little bit of an oddity, but more or less along the time it has been following it pretty good here. But if we get capitated here at the head, more or less, I mean, we could still get to 160,000, 150,000, whatever it might be, depending if the money supply continues to go up here, which I believe it will. So we could definitely go much higher if this follows the M2 supply like it is currently following it. Okay, but definitely interesting chart there nonetheless. We'll have to pay attention to it to see how well it follows it going forward. All right, let's go back here. All right, we got a couple more questions here, and we're getting caught up here. Question here: past history predicts 2026 will be bear market when little expansion has happened in past cycles. Yeah, that's historical what happens, right? 2025 would be a great bull run, and 2026 we start getting into a bear market. Now, has this cycle played out anything similar to previous cycles? No, right? We had a new all-time high with Bitcoin before the halving event. That's never happened before. The corrections that we are seeing here in Bitcoin are taking months instead of days to 2 weeks or something like that we've seen in the past, where Bitcoin has corrected 30% plus, going below 40% corrections. That's different also. We've had this kind of correction accumulation phase now 2 times. We've had it this year. We've had it last year as well after the halving event. So that's completely different. Whereas Bitcoin before, like I said, would be on a parabolic bull run with quick corrections, 30, 34, 35, 38% drawdowns, and then a continuation of the uptrend. We're not seeing that this time. So it's already different already, which leads me to believe that we might be getting into an extended cycle. Based on just what I'm seeing here with the adoption, everything else that's happening, companies, states, countries, looking to put Bitcoin on their reserves, it's different. It is way different already than what we've seen in the past. So I'm not sure we're going to get a bear market. We may continue to see these kind of drawdowns where they're extended several months and then continuation going up. But time will tell on that one. We'll see if my thoughts are correct on it, or at least my theory. Okay, talked about that. Michael here. Market cap, go hodl is still 90%. Where do you think this could be valued? What was it in the past? In the past, the hodl wasn't valued as much. Well, it's not being valued much right now as it is. But some of these guys, Mara's enterprise value, it is what it is. They're way undervalued. But in the past, they didn't have this huge hodl position. I think they had like 7,000 Bitcoin last cycle, but they were growing tremendously in their mining hash rate. I think they were at 3 exahash, getting to 21 exahash, which that was delayed by a year because of things that happened there that we don't have any control over it. So yeah, how is it? I don't think we can compare it to that well to last cycle. It's not easy, at least right now. Okay. And let's see what else we got here. I think that's it. I've caught up to all you guys' question here. Yep. We'll call it a day. So thank you everyone for coming in here. Today was a great day. We need a lot more of these, and hopefully we do get a lot more of these going into the end of the year here. Even the summer months, fall months, and then winter months, and then take profits along the way, potentially. So I'm looking forward to it. Sadie, you're very welcome as always. Thank you for coming in, everyone. We'll cover whatever happens tomorrow. As always, I wish you guys a great night. Love you all. Thanks for coming in, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.